Well, it's been 13 years since the first Avatar was released, and if you're like me, you've spent all that time learning everything there is to know about Pandora.
Is sex like when the Na'vi intertwine their hair braids?
Sure.
James Cameron, who brought us such hits as Titanic, The Terminator, and who can forget Piranha 2: The Spawning, has returned to this alien planet with even more water than my third-class cabin. All jokes aside, Avatar: The Way of Water adds to the rich lore of Pandora, and in this video we'll be taking a look at some of the film's biggest questions, reveals, and what it could mean for Avatar 3. So sahelu to your ilu, I cringed a bit saying that, because we have a lot to cover. It's been 15 years since we last saw our favorite paraplegic Marine, Jake Sully. At the end of the first film, he had his consciousness transferred permanently to his avatar, and if you pay close attention, you'll notice the first and last shots of both films are nearly identical. They both start with sprawling vistas of the forest and end with close-ups of Jake ready to start a new chapter of his life. But a lot has changed in the 15 years since Jake and the Na'vi fought off the rapacious Resource Development Administration, the company hell-bent on procuring unobtainium, humanity's most coveted resource fundamental in creating energy. But as we'll find out in The Way of Water, there's a new resource in town that makes unobtainium pale in comparison. This new substance, drilled from the frontal lobe of highly intelligent creatures known as the Tulkun, is known as Amrita, which translates from Sanskrit literally meaning immortality. And no wonder, because this elixir stops aging. My mom is gonna be really excited. But as we get further along in this video, we'll discuss how this substance, combined with the impending destruction of Earth, sets up an even larger battle for Avatar 3. Jake's been busy in those 15 years getting freaky with his soulmate Neytiri. They have 3 biological children, the eldest Netam, younger brother Loak, and little Tuktiri, or Tuk for short. And if that wasn't enough, they've adopted 2 others. The first is Miles Spider Socorro, a human child who was left orphaned on Pandora. Being too young to make the journey back to Earth via cryosleep, he was taken in by the Sullys, and it makes for an excellent Tarzan origin story. What makes Spider even spicier is his parentage. His biological father is Avatar 1's main villain, Miles Quaritch. His mother, Paz Socorro, who we meet in the Avatar graphic novel The High Ground, was killed while piloting a scorpion during the assault on the Tree of Souls, leaving him orphaned. The other adopted child, and far more mysterious of the 2, is Kiri, who was birthed from Dr. Grace Augustine's brain-dead avatar. We never find out who Kiri's real father is, although some of the characters joke Norman Grace's avatars got it on, but I'm inclined to think there's something more spiritual and supernatural at play here. If you listen closely during the scene where they talk about Kiri's father, you can hear a recording of Dr. Grace in the background talk about her theories on the planet's biology. Her lines here are directly taken from the first movie, in which she theorizes everything on Pandora is connected. Combine this with a recurring belief among the Na'vi that when one life ends, another begins, and that energy as we know it is simply transferred and borrowed from one another, including life energy, it's entirely possible that during Jake's attempt to save Grace at the end of the first movie, her energy wasn't transferred into the Avatar, rather the Avatar's womb. This would mean that Kiri's birth was that of, for lack of a better word, immaculate conception by Eywa, or the Na'vi's god. And I'm inclined to believe this theory, considering the supernatural type of powers Kiri seems to possess. First, the seeds of the sacred tree seem to be drawn to her. In the first movie, Neytiri teaches us that these seeds are a good sign. It's actually what stops her from killing Jake the first time she discovers him. And the first time we see Kiri, she's almost in this trance-like state on the ground, as if communing with the earth. And of course, she has these weird abilities that we've never seen any of the other Na'vi do. There's even a scene where she tells Jake that she can hear Eywa. So it's clear that we're just scratching the surface of Kiri's abilities, and I think she'll be the most important character when it comes to an eventual confrontation with the humans. Clearly, a fully armed human force could wipe out the Na'vi, but maybe the Na'vi can stand a chance if they have someone who can harness the power of Eywa. Now, things seem to be going just swell for the Sullys, until the RDA rears its ugly head. Seems as though their brutal defeat after the failed assault on the Tree of Souls wasn't going to keep them at bay for long. Returning Speaking with them is Colonel Miles Quaritch, now in Na'vi form. An avatar was created just for him and instilled with his personality and memories. Think of it as a very expensive backup copy. It's a win-win for the RDA and Quaritch. The company gets these Na'vi soldiers instilled with the training of Marines to infiltrate the rebels, while Quaritch gets a second chance at life and the ability to seek out his revenge. Quaritch is under the command of General Ardmore. She isn't in the film much, but I suspect she'll play a larger role as the battle between Na'vi and the humans intensifies. Things have gotten much worse for Earth since we last checked in, and General Ardmore tells us that Earth will soon be uninhabitable, and thus Pandora must be taken over so they can rebuild anew. Getting in the way of this plan is Jake Sully and the Omaticaya clan, the forest tribe we met in the first film. They've been raiding key supply lines and really putting a damper on the RDA's foothold on the planet. Any attempt to breach their stronghold in the sky is met with fierce resistance, and the Tree of Souls' unique flux vortex makes it impossible for the RDA's advanced instruments to give them a battlefield advantage. Thus, Avatar Quaritch is tasked with killing Jake Sully commando style and getting him out of the picture. The Sullys, however, decide to leave their clan when Spider is captured and Jake finds out he's being hunted by Quaritch. He gives up his status as Olo Ekatan, or clan leader. He knows it's better to leave the clan rather than stay and put them in danger. It's not that he's a coward, he just knows that this is best for his people. Over the course of his journey, he'll learn that running isn't the answer. He must stay and fight, which is essentially what he says in the film's final moments. This journey leads him to Awa Atlu, a Metkayina village on one of Pandora's thousands of islands. This clan refers to themselves as Reef People and share some distinct differences from their Omaticaya counterparts, such as webbed hands and more robust tails for swimming. Even though he knows the danger, clan leader Tonowari takes them in after they invoke Oturu, a plea for sanctuary. And just like Jake had to grow accustomed to a new life among the Omaticaya in Avatar, his whole family must adjust to life by the sea. This includes how to swim, taming creatures known as Ilu, and dodging glances by the Na'vi equivalent of a Bond girl. The RDA tracks down Jake to the sea, but rather than go island to island burning everything in their path, Quaritch decides to lure Jake out by slaughtering these giant whale-like creatures known as Tulkun. As we learn from Dr. Garvin, these creatures are insanely smart and have a strong bond with the Reef People. Every year they migrate and meet up with various members of the clan in which they share stories, songs, and life. Thus, killing a Tulkun is seen by the Metkayina as murdering one of their own and a declaration of war. Of particular interest is Loak and the bond he makes with a Tulkun named Payakan. The two are similar in that they are outcasts. Loak always tries to help and prove himself as a warrior, but seems to always screw it up. In the eyes of Jake, he feels like a disappointment. That's why it's so heartwarming when in the end, he's the one who saves his father. Jake will say the iconic Na'vi line, "I see you," to him to acknowledge this. Payakan was outcast for committing murder, something that is forbidden among the Tulkun, but later we'll learn that he was simply trying to defend his family from vicious Tulkun hunters like Scoresby, who, if you haven't seen the movie, has the coolest death with his arm getting chopped off, just like he was responsible for chopping off Payakan's fin. It's when Loak goes to warn Payakan that the RDA is on the way, he, Soraya, and Tuk are captured by Quaritch. Now Quaritch has the ultimate leverage in getting Jake to hand himself in, and when it seems like Quaritch has won the day, Payakan free willies into their boat. This allows the Metkayina to launch an attack. In an attempt to save his siblings, Loak's older brother Netam is mortally shot. It's the film's big death and motivates Jake and Neytiri to finish Quaritch once and for all. They know he'll continue to hunt them until he's dead. The final act of the film focuses on a one-on-one battle between Jake and Quaritch, in which this absolutely massive RDA ship slowly capsizes like the Poseidon Adventure. In the fray, Neytiri tries to save Tuk but gets sucked into the bowels of the ship, and only by using Kiri's ability to channel these glowing sea creatures are they rescued and brought to safety. Jake and Quaritch duke it out, with Jake putting Quaritch in a sleeper hold, but both men seemingly drown. But don't hold your breath, Jake is saved by Loak, and in a far more interesting turn of events, Spider ends up saving Quaritch. But why would he do that? Especially considering a few moments later, when they make it to the surface, Spider decides decides not to go back with him, rather remain with his real family, the Sullys. First of all, there must have been a lot going through this kid's head. This is his dad and his only living blood, and by saving him, he actually proves to his father he's not like him. He's doing the very opposite thing Quaritch would have done. Second, a few scenes earlier, Spider had a knife pulled on him by his very own adoptive mother when she tries to use this as leverage against Quaritch. Quaritch actually ends up doing what she asks, proving he has some feelings towards his son. This event has major ramifications for the next film. First, we never see Spider tell the others that he let Quaritch go. For all they know, Quaritch is dead. Will he tell them, or will it be something that blows up in his face in the next film? Second, if my adoptive mother held a knife at my throat and threatened to kill me, you'd bet I'd lose all trust in her. Neytiri mentions throughout the film that Spider should be with his own kind, so the psychological effect all this is going to have on him will be huge. It feels like they're setting him up to be a villain, but my guess is that in the end he'll do the right thing. Neteyam is given a traditional Metkayina funeral where his body returns to the sea. It is said that we come from the sea, and after we die, that is where we go, so it's only fitting we see him return there. Neteyam even takes the fetal position, further signifying this connection between life and death. Neytiri adds a bead to this device known as a song cord, which acts as a family or clan's history, each bead telling a significant moment or event in time. It's accompanied by a song sung by Neytiri once at the beginning of the film when her kids are introduced, and again at the end when they mourn the loss of their child. But on Pandora, the dead are never fully gone. By accessing the underwater tree at the Cove of the Ancestors, Sully and Neytiri can visit him as part of their memory. But where does this leave us going forward? The Sullys are officially welcomed into the Metkayina clan, and Jake says that he is done with running. He will fight. And no doubt there will be serious repercussions for the Na'vi after their victory. We know from General Ardmore that humanity needs Pandora to survive, which will undoubtedly culminate in an all-out war between all the tribes of Pandora and the RDA. We barely scratch the surface when it comes to all the various tribes of Pandora, and you can bet Jake will take up the mantle as leader to unite them all. Avatar 3, which is still yet to be titled, is set for a 2024 release, so if you'll excuse me, I have to be put into cryosleep until then. Thanks for watching, everyone. What did you think of Avatar: The Way of Water? I want to hear your thoughts below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Is sex like when the Na'vi intertwine their hair braids?
Sure.